So Hutch is asking you, sir. He is asking, nay, calling out. Make it make sense, Bart.
Well, I think the legitimate problem here is, as we've seen with VAR multiple times now, they have the technology to get calls like this correct. They do. We don't necessarily even need the semi-automatic offside line. I think that would help in this case, but we can talk about that later.
Yep.
They have the technology in the Premier League to get these calls right and be very confident that they are right. The problem is when you don't use that technology, then you're not going to get the call right. And I think, again, that's the frustrating part here, where it's another example of the VAR process not being even used in something that is, at this point now, commonplace. You hold for a second to check to make sure the goal is or isn't, especially in that particular case. You go through everything, then the flag comes up. Okay, great. Now we have time, especially because we disallowed the goal, to say, okay, wait a second, hold the kick, let's check. And all you have to do, I think, at first is just watch the replay back and go, oh, that looks a little fishy, right? That should be a trigger in itself, because it wasn't. You watch one angle and you're like, oh, that actually maybe is a little tight, So at that point, you need to initiate the process of drawing the lines. You need to initiate the process of fully reviewing it. And that's where I don't know how they skipped all of that, because that to me feels like it's a no-brainer in the process of what VAR is supposed to be used for.
Okay, so here was once again as it was laid out on NBC Sports. Here's how Rebecca explained it. So here was the beginning of the discussion. I'll only play the beginning. I'm not going to play the whole thing. Here was how apparently this went down, and it's crazy.
Darren England, the VAR, when he was watching the game, he failed to see that the flag went up. He failed to see that Luis Diaz stopped celebrating. He therefore thought the goal had been given. So then when he is looking at the coverage and at the shots and at the angles, he's looking at it thinking the goal's been given. So when he then says, yeah, Luis Diaz is onside, no problem, check complete. He says check complete into the ear of the referee. Referee, of course, thought the goal was offside because the linesman put the flag up. Very confusing. So the referee has then said, oh, check complete. Oh, it must have been offside. The linesman must have been right. Then there's a free kick to Spurs. And as soon as Spurs take their free kick, you cannot then take the game back.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, he was on his phone, I guess. And that's the thing, right? My other question, though, is from the on-field side of things. This is where I do want to make sure, I'm curious as to why the on-field officiating crew, be it the fourth or be it the center referee, can't say, hey, check that for the offside. And the question needs to be, was he onside or offside? Not goal disallowed or goal allowed. Was the player offside or was the player onside? Yes or no? Okay, so we're disallowing the goal. That is, to me, the process that needs to be going through. Because I will say something that I think MLS gets right more than the Premier League. One is the on-field officiating crew has more control in these types of scenarios. Now, obviously, we do not have the offside line technology for the VAR to draw the lines and say, yes, he's on or off. But we do have the ability to, the process goes, is he onside or offside? Yes or no? Okay, great. The goal is allowed or disallowed. And that's the problem with this VAR situation here is you have a goal go through. You put the flag up. So the check needs to be initiated, to me, not necessarily from the VAR, but the question needs to be asked, was he off? We need to ask not was the goal good or not. We need to, and this is where I think we go back to the Women's World Cup, right, John? You heard referees give on-field decisions, say, after review, the player was in an offside position, no goal. Or after review, there was no handball, no penalty kick. That might be something.
That buys you time, too.
It does. It does. You say, okay, because you have to go through again and say, okay, this is the call that we did. And this is something that, I mean, we do at the basic level. If I'm an assistant referee or if I'm a center referee, my assistant referee puts their flag up for something that I think is a little like, okay, was he onside or offside? Or, the classic case of a player going back to the GG goal from last week, right? Well, I would have had to go over, talk to my AR, say, hey, was he in an onside or onside position? Yes or no. I have to say, okay, well, I think he hit it or didn't. The conversation is there, not just drawing lines. So that's where I'm confused why, again, the Premier League thinks that they are so high and mighty and better than everyone else. They can't just do basic things right, like start the conversation about what this decision needs to be.
Howard Webb, and this was something else that came in that I thought was interesting, and I'll put it to the side as a part of the discussion. But Howard Webb then, and Liverpool understandably is hot. Liverpool
lost points on this. Like, let's be real honest. They lost points on it because, the refs cheated them twice more. I'm kidding. They did not cheat. Liverpool fully deserved the red card.
That's the Arsenal guy.
But, Tottenham gets all these favorable decisions because, they have NFL money now because, they sometimes play games in that stadium. They extended that contract. But no, Liverpool lost points on this, like legit, right? That could have been a goal that, we don't know for sure, but that's a goal that absolutely makes a game like this change and different. And if you're defending a 2-1 lead, I think at that point it would have been 2-1, right? Or was it? No, at that point it would have been 1-1. Yes, right. Yeah. At that point it would have been 1-1. Regardless, you get to go back at 1-1 with the man up or with the man down. You are possibly riding this out more. But you had the Gakpo goal later in that half. I mean, it's not like for sure, but you had a goal disallowed in a game that you lost 2-1. And it's really hard to argue that you wouldn't have got points from this game. And Liverpool deserves to be upset. Like, honestly, they don't deserve both of the red cards are red cards. We can talk about that if you really want to. But this offside decision absolutely affected the outcome of the game.
Yeah, I'm going to put the red cards toward the end of the discussion. So, cool. Yes, but later.
They were red cards.
Yeah, there you go. It's done. So, how Liverpool has demanded full transparency from the referee and governing body after Howard Webb called senior Anfield executives to apologize for the errors in the defeat, failing to correctly give Diaz's goal and ruled offside. Following the acknowledgement of the PGMOL statement, we ran that, significant human error. Webb has not gone far enough, according to our friends at The Telegraph, to appease the furious club, who issued a strongly worded statement branding the officiating unacceptable and suggesting the integrity of the result has been undermined, to your point. Liverpool's statement in response was not calling for the Premier League to demand the result be voided, although the ambiguity of the phrase, quote, exploring a range of options, in quotation marks, certainly encourages a debate as to where this should and will lead and what the fans are considering. Liverpool.
It's hard, John. First off, I want to apologize you there. It's hard because what is Howard Webb supposed to say that's going to make them feel better?
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Hey, we screwed the pooch. My bad.
We screwed up our bad.
So
Liverpool, and this to your point, Liverpool believe the VAR audio will reveal why the process broke down during and after the critical decision when Diaz was wrongly ruled offside. Club sources say it is not the decision itself that has prompted their reaction, but the worrying malfunction in applying the laws of the game, especially given the technology available.
And that's, again, where I'm asking of if the referee thought it was a goal, why did he say check complete and that was it? Why was his conversation not check complete? It's a good goal. Like that, again, this is where I do truly believe we have the technology for the referee to say look, they just saw this in London on Sunday. A referee gets on a little microphone and tells everyone what the call is. I do think that when we have VAR decisions, we need to have transparency and clear communication from the officiating crew what the call. You don't have to get fully involved in the call, right? I think the NFL goes a little too much into that. But the call here would have been after a video review. The player was not offside or was in an onside position, and the goal is good. Basically something of like, there's no offside, the goal is good. That's an easy decision or an easy communication that you can give to the fans in the stands and the fans at home, so that we fully know what the decision is, not good goal or no good or no goal. And again, that's where we got here is check complete. Okay. Well, if I take my car to the mechanic and they run the little test thing and it comes back and they go, okay, yeah, check complete. They don't tell me anything else. What? Well, is my engine about to explode or are we good? So.
Misplaced modifiers. My mother would have a field day being an English major. Now, club executives are also understood to have serious concerns regarding appointments of Saturday's match officials, with the 2 VAR officials employed, Darren England and assistant Dan Cook, having worked in the UAE 2 days before such a high-profile fixture. And while you were talking, I Google mapped it. It is a 7-hour flight.
It's about the same flight from Atlanta to London.
This was in London. Flight.
Yeah, it's far. I think this is a legit. I don't think the match load itself is the problem, right? I think my question is, why were they in the UAE? Why is a Premier League official in the UAE?
Yeah.
Because I can't think of anything that would involve either England, Great Britain, the United Kingdom, or Europe in the UAE, outside of a whale, obviously. But
they were part of a group of English referees who officiated Sharjah's match against Al Ain in the UAE on Thursday.
Right. And that's fine. We've talked about the referee exchange program before. But, my point is, why are we doubling up on that? You could have given them the Sunday games.
Yeah.
You absolutely could have. Because we're not even talking I'm not a geography wizard, but there's at least 3 time zones between London and the UAE, I think. I'm trying to think. Gulf Standard Time, at least 3, maybe 4.
So think of
that also plays into it. That's the same as if you go from here to LA or from here to Hawaii.
So I'm sitting here and I'm trying to draw a line, basically.
Oh, so you're drawing lines.
I am. I'm trying to do like a north-south thing, but I'm not going to say check complete when it comes to geography. That's going to be a hashtag now on the show. Basically, it's so London to Tehran. So Israel and maybe 1 or 2 more, whatever the difference is, from here to Jerusalem. I want to say it's 8. From East Coast to Jerusalem. So you're probably looking 5 maybe from London
to that makes sense.
Tehran.
It's 8 or 9 hours. I know it's 8 or 9 hours to the Gulf Coast. So
right.
I know that so if it's 4 to 5 from here to London, we're talking multiple time zones. We're talking 7 hours of a flight. We're talking, it's not that they worked 48 hours before this, right? It's that they worked in a much foreign location. They weren't even in Istanbul doing a match. This to me, if you're going to send a referee on these exchange programs, you need to give them the weekend off or something like that, because these are outside of their normal duties. Bam, there's a halftime zone in Australia, I learned. Adelaide is weird like that for some reason. I still have them on my world clock, by the way. So it's nice to hear from you, Bam.
Yep. England, Cook, Michael Oliver, and Stuart Burt were given permission to take charge of the league match in the UAE after an approach was made to the Football Association.
And again, we don't have a problem with that.
No. A Premier League chief executive told the Times, quote, "There must be an issue around fatigue for these long journeys in a short space of time. We have absolute trust in the integrity of our officials, but from a fan's viewpoint, it is important to remove any possible suggestion of a conflict of interest by a referee being paid to cover a match in Saudi Arabia or the UAE, where the league there has the same ownership of one of our clubs. Everybody's looking at the Manchester City thing. I was looking specifically at a 7-hour flight both ways.
I think to insinuate that there's some sort of Man City connection here is I think the connection is Man City was like, the owners probably said, hey, let's do this thing, not to like ruin Liverpool or Tottenham.
Yeah.
Because the problem here is Liverpool and Tottenham are both challenging Man City for a title. So like, if you're going to do this, it would be a Liverpool-Burnley game.
Yeah.
Where JJ Watt's team gets the advantage, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry. Khalil Watt's team.
There you go.
Call him Khalil Watt's team.
Telegraph Sport reported last week the Saudi Arabia Football Federation approached leading Premier League referees, including Michael Oliver, about the prospect of transferring to work in the Saudi Pro League. Basically, yeah. So that's where we are. I was more concerned about 7 hours coming and going.
Absolutely.
On a Thursday and then flipping around to do the big match, as even if it's a VAR or an AVAR on a Saturday. That's where I was staring at going,
yeah,
really? You want to do that, and you've done that, and you now have this end result.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, right? I know Christina Uncle today. I saw a tweet from her this morning about challenging the idea of referee workload or travel, because obviously in the U.S. we like to talk about how everything's far away, and it is. But this is an extracurricular activity. Mm-hmm. This is a school field trip.
Yes.
So to expect them to be fully ready to go the next, within 2 days after is a little.
You want to be ready for class after a school.
Yeah, this is when WVU basketball players have to go play at Texas Tech on a Wednesday night, and they come back and they have a test at 8 a.m. on Thursday morning. And believe me, I had to train kids for that, and it never went well. So,
Yes, Tafka. If he thought it was a goal, why did he not speak up when the restart was not at center circle? It's not even as hard as we're making it. If he was confused about the ruling on the field, the resulting restart would have made it clear in the correction.
Again, I think the problem is he's not paying attention to the game.
Yeah.
And so for him, he also may have thought, oh, they kicked off already, but there must be a penalty or some sort of foul, So I agree with you, Tafka. He should have immediately said, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Check complete for the goal is good. He also could have thought that the restart was, I don't know why he would have thought this, was a kickoff, because it wasn't like it was super deep into if I'm trying to remember correctly, it wasn't super deep into the Tottenham half. But I don't know. I don't know, Tafka. Like, I don't. Yes, he could have, but I think the problem, again, is that he wasn't fully paying attention. Yeah. And neither was the assistant VAR, who, again, and that's the other problem is, okay, so why were these two specifically on this game? You could have broken them up. So it's just, there's a lot of things that, again, the Premier League does wrong because they think they're better than everyone else when they're not.
Parzival's firing up the black helicopter, wanting to know who has the most to gain from the bad calls. Allows something or someone chances and money that they need. And Parzival admits that he doesn't follow any of it. He's just trying to add fuel to the fire.
Well, I mean, again, I think that's the thing. Is like, if you're talking Man City gaining from it, the fact that Tottenham's still a point behind them, and a draw would have been better for, a draw would have been ideal for both parties involved, because, but, oh well.
Yeah. So, we do have a lot of different issues. So go over the red cards after you have your coffee. So,
listen, I thought the red cards were both right. And as I said Saturday, you can have a harsh decision that's still correct. And that's kind of where I landed on the red card that was given to, Curtis Jones. Sorry, I had to remember his name. It looks really harsh, and I think this is one instance where I do agree that, like, when you have VAR review slowing things down, it looks worse than it is. But it's really hard to argue with studs going above a guy's ankle, right? Yes. And that's kind of that line of demarcation, is like, when we're going to the point where your shin guards are, covering your shin like that, we're going to get into problems there. And to me, that was unfortunate, but probably the right decision, although harsh.
When you have discussions with your ARs, when you're in the center, and you have discussions with your ARs, mm-hmm. How do you avoid having a rushed conversation, but still have the conversation satisfy the topic that you're trying to get to? Because, I mean, this sounds like what we're talking about over this past weekend, it's referees not paying full attention in the booth, at the same time adding a lack of a modifier to your sentence structure, which causes a double cascade of events to go wrong. How do you have a meaningful conversation and do it quickly, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
So this goes back to referee training, where you're taught, and this is, again, the whole point of referee training is that we all have a base knowledge in mechanics, right? In theory, we're taught to have information to present to the referee. And this is whether it's an offside call, whether it's, hey, I think there's a red card, hey, I think there might be a yellow card. You need to have information for the referee when this stuff happens. So, for example, I had a young referee, good referee, not put his flag up for an offside. Everyone's screaming, hollering, yelling as offside. I go over, I said, hey, was he in an offside position? Or was he this or was he that? I asked questions and he has the information to give me. But I, as a center referee, also have to understand, okay, what was the order of operations? What was the sequence here that happened? So why would a offside flag been raised or not? Why would the referee, the assistant referee, be calling me over? Like, I have to kind of think all these things through before I go have that conversation with them. So that it is on the center referee, but the assistant referees need to have the information. So, I've had instances where a referee puts his flag up and calls me over, and we do this thing where we point to our shirt pocket to kind of indicate, hey, we think there's a yellow card. And I go, okay, so what happened? What player did what? And he's just like, okay, well, number 14, White, said, you a punk ass bitch. And I go, okay, great. We can't say that at 14 years old. Probably can't say that at any level, but here's your yellow card, number 14.
Bang.
Yeah. So having that information is what we need. And again, the center referee needs to ask the right question. And so that's where I think the center referee in this situation, was this Paul Mariner? I forget. One of the bald-headed English referees. They have several.
Right.
I don't know if, I would argue that he may not have asked the right questions here. And to me, that is part of the problem of when you say check complete, again, okay, so do we have a goal or no? Mm-hmm. So is it offside or not? That to me is a communication breakdown.
Okay.
Simon Hooper. Okay.
Simon Hooper.
He was still bald. So
yes. So yes, it was a big mix of all of them. To David's point, Garza had the same foot over the ball, red card, 17 or 18, hurt himself on the play.
Yeah.
Tough result and still a red.
Absolutely. And it sucks. It's a harsh red card, but it is a red card. Like, it's just, it's the same as if, like, you go to try to do an overhead kick and you happen to kick a player while you're doing it.
Right.
Look, we know you didn't mean to, but, like, you can't do that.
No. Yeah, kicking another player in the head, even though you're trying to do the pretty video, that doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
Hutch is asking for more drones. Hutch, that's an insurance issue that's never going to happen, because if you have more drones, then if the drone all of a sudden runs out of gas or loses contact with the mothership and goes down and hits somebody, that's an insurance issue.
Or it just loses gas and you have to take it down during the game. Now you don't have that drone.
Right.
I do think that in Premier League facilities,
mm-hmm.
Don't tell Luton Town this, because they won't be able to.
It's another $12 million is what you're saying.
Yeah, I do think that we've talked about this in MLS, right, where we need cameras actually on the goal line.
Yes,
I do think that would help, and I think that alone would help with getting better angles. You have one on every sideline, you have one on the center line, you have one, as well as the other. You need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5, plus I think they have to have 6. I think it's 6. I'm not entirely sure. Other camera angles to make sure. So
Yeah, and once again, it's also venue dependent because of the facilities being what they are. and the camera well having to be placed inside the venue as it sits without taking away from the fan experience. And that's why some of your angles are more slashes, and we use that as a TV term because it's at a 45-degree angle to the field of play,
right?
Instead of right there at the 30-yard line or the 40-yard line each time, or 2 at the 50, and you can sit there and take your cameras and spin them out at 45-degree angles and have your full look.
Yeah, we can't all have Buck McFarland, driving
No.
up and down a sideline.
No, we can't. Hutch, and if you had them fixed on wires, there have been instances where the wires have snapped and cameras have caused damage to facilities. One NASCAR event comes to mind where they had the spider cam and it snapped off the spider cam and it fell and the camera broke, and that's a $70,000 camera and the wires, and they had to suspend the race to fix the camera wires. So I think what we're looking at here is something along the lines of Cyclops technology in the field of play, because in the Premier League they do have goal line technology, and
yes.
they have the vibration sensation for your center ref when it comes to yes, no, not going to happen. I think Cyclops is what you need, but it is cost intensive to do that kind of stuff. And then if it's cost intensive in England, it's cost intensive here in the States. And how you're going to afford it. And if somebody's trying to build a better mousetrap, then you're probably selling yourself short when it comes to that kind of technology too. So what do we do, Bart?
I think you don't let English officials officiate.
And you don't let them go to the UAE.
You definitely don't let them go to the UAE. No, I'm just joking, because the Premier League officials think that they are the God's gift to officiating, and they aren't, to be just quite honest.
They're not? They're not?
No. I will say it's because they refuse to accept criticism. They refuse to evaluate themselves. They refuse to, I don't want to say refuse. They're reluctant to do these things and try to get better. Whereas, other countries and nations do have the introspection to try to become, to understand that other things might be doing it better, and they can adopt those. That's what I'll say.
So what was the last episode of Soccer for US POD for those that need to go back and listen?
So we put it out last week. You can go listen to talk about the U.S. women's national team friendlies. More talk about Julie Ertz, Megan Rapinoe, and hiring a new coach, and kind of the timeline, the requests that we want. And then we talk about U.S. soccer coming to Atlanta. And Caleb and I are both Atlanta boys, so we're talking about it from a very selfish perspective, but I think that's the kind of the point, right? Like, this is huge for Atlanta, and huge for U.S. soccer. I mean, let's be real honest, Sean. Atlanta can become the soccer capital with a move like this, but also this is very beneficial to U.S. soccer, not having to manage 3 to 5 locations for all their normal operations. And we talk about that more than anything, just because it's fun to gloat about the fact that Atlanta is the new home for U.S. soccer, and not Chicago, Kansas City, LA, and maybe Denver, and maybe Florida, and maybe another location. It's all in Atlanta now.
Well, and at the same time, you're not out of a house. You're actually
you're in an actual office building that you own. And that's the other thing, not to continue on this, but that's the other thing that I think U.S. soccer is going to cost a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you're going to own all of this, right? You're going to own the headquarter building. You're going to own the fields, the practice facilities, the indoor training facilities, the athletic training facilities, the gym, the workout facilities, like all these things you're going to own. And it may, as we know, it may cost a lot of money up front, but in the end, you're going to save money on this. And that's why Arthur Blank put up $50 million. But it's great for teams like, for example, you see this month, because we're in October, happy spooky season. It's you see the U23s doing a series of friendlies down in Phoenix, right? Well, that would probably be here in Atlanta. And October in Atlanta, you're probably going to get better weather than you do, and it's going to be hot in Phoenix still, because I hear it's hot out in the desert.
Because Phoenix, yes.
Where here, you're looking at probably low 70s, great temperatures to have, friendlies during out the day. Michael, we don't know where the soccer HQ is going to be. We don't know yet.
But it would make sense if it was on the south side.
The south side near the airport is probably the most logical. There's also actual land that you can buy down there on that side. And we talk about that as well. Caleb and I discuss like what makes sense, trying to tell people a little bit more about the geography of Atlanta because, the south side makes the most sense. We don't want to put these guys in, or girls, I don't know how much the U.S. women and men's national team will use this specifically, but you don't want these guys and girls coming in on a flight from wherever and then getting in a van and having to, wait another hour, sit in a church van for an hour to go north to Marietta or Cumming or wherever from the airport. So,
one more thing before you go.
Yes, we're 4-1. I know.
12,500 plus at Villa Park for Aston Villa Man United.
Yep.
14,776 at Stamford Bridge for Chelsea and Tottenham.
Goal by me official.
54,115 at the Emirates for Arsenal and Liverpool.
We don't need to talk about the game itself, but
that
was fantastic. This is this is good, right? And I think this is where I'm at with the attendance figures for women's soccer is I'm still, and I'm sorry to say this, I'm still loath to go all in on playing every single match in the Premier League stadiums because I think we've seen over the course of a season, you're not likely to get 12 to 54,000 every match. But the opening weekend, that needs to be in every Premier League stadium you could possibly put it in, right? And if you do anything like Arsenal did, which was just encourage people, they were advertising during the men's teams games, you're going to get people come just because they love football. They love this club. And I think that's where a lot of, I know specifically I can speak from the Arsenal perspective because one, we've had a professional, good, well-run women's side of the club for the longest time. And it's just the fact that we try to treat it as much as similar to the men's side as possible. Mm-hmm. Understanding there are differences, they are a different group of people with different needs. But if you treat it like one club, which we recently have been better at doing, then people are more likely to just support it because they're an Arsenal supporter. I know, John, you were down in some city in Alabama. We don't need to talk about that game, but college sports is very similar. Where if you're an Auburn football fan, if you're an Auburn fan, you're going to support the Auburn football team. You're also going to support the men's basketball team. You're also going to support the gymnastics team. You're going to support the women's soccer team. So from a Premier League perspective, you have a chance to just make more money. I mean, that's what I don't get is like, if you do this 4 to 5 times a year, going from, I think Boreham Wood holds like at most 4,000.
You said Boreham Wood.
That's what it is. And that's where Arsenal plays our non-big, Boreham Wood.
I was being a 12-year-old.
Oh, Boreham. Good Lord.
You said Boreham Wood.
Grow up, John.
No.
Fair enough. Kings Meadow, 5,000. Like, you have just potential revenue. Yeah. And I think that's where it's just like, if you try, if it's a little bit, if you build it, they will come. But like, it's already been built. And that's kind of where I'm at, is just do it. You saw in September, the U.S. women massively outdrew the U.S. men. Mm-hmm. People will come and watch it.
Yeah.
If you're not doing it, you're closing yourself off to potential revenue, not just for the 5 times a year, but throughout the year.
Yeah.
Jersey sales, merch sales. Look, if you're an Arsenal supporter, why not get a Leah Williamson shirt? If you're a City supporter,
Mary Earps jersey,
right? If you're a United supporter, why not get a Mary Earps jersey? If you're a City supporter, there's multiple girls you could get their jerseys of, as well as if you're an Arsenal supporter, you got Bukayo Saka and other guys. But like, you're gonna get these high-profile athletes. You want their jerseys. Well, the women are just as available there. I mean, you're losing out on potential revenue, and that's just where I'm no businessman, John, but I feel like the potential revenue earnings would be something they'd want.
Just saying. You're back on Wednesday?
I mean, I guess we may have more reffing down here. Who knows? We've got matches today and Tuesday, so
You ain't kidding, brother. All right. He's Bart Keeler at Bartimus Prime 19 at SoccerForUSPod. Buy the man a coffee, won't you? Because he's going to.
Buymeacoffee.com/SoccerForUsPod.
What he said. Bart, we'll catch up with you midweek.
Bye, y'all.
All right. That's Bart. Yes, Hutchie is speaking the language of business. The language of business. That is exactly what he's doing. When you do good business, good things happen, and it comes back, and it gets to hang out with you tenfold. That's what we try to do here. And, by the way, since it's hour number 2, that means we get to do this. We get to read a promo. Has to do with our friends at Eliminize. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go, it's Eliminize service. Eliminize deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. Thank you, Ricky, for telling me what that is. Makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, that much I do know about. Go to see us out at the curb on Sunday night, getting ready for Monday morning when the recycle guys come over at like 7 o'clock in the morning before the school buses do. They make a lot of noise. But we have a lot of recyclables. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents that you may have either below your sink or above you in the cupboard. Because when you reach underneath the sink or above you in the cupboard, you grab out that masking agent. You spray the masking agent in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. You're just masking the odors. You're not attacking the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at the Eliminize service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, go to the website. This is where I grab my pen. Full homework assignment, eliminize.com/Atlanta. There's the QR code over my left shoulder for those of you who are watching on Twitch, on Facebook, and on the 280-character app. Full homework assignment, eliminize.com/Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are requesting their presence from. Go into a sentence and a preposition. ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, eliminize.com/Atlanta. Eliminize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH here on a Monday, where we're talking stuff. All right, hour number 2, we were going to go through the results in Major League Soccer that did not involve Atlanta United. So that's basically everybody, since Atlanta United had the weekend off. Knicks, congratulations, and hopefully the celebration for the now 22-year-old went well. I know, 22, like that. 22 years ago, it was 2001. And I was still in television news in 2001. Had another 2 years in television news before I broke out. And you see what's happened since. So there you go. Did I fix that? Yeah, I did. Okay. Like I said, got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's go through your comments that I missed here in hour number 1. And let me see what did I miss? See if I missed anything from you guys. Yeah, Nick's crazy and all caps locked in the number 1 seed. No one else is clinched. Yeah, we'll get into that coming up in just a sec. Yes, St. Louis in the CONCACAF Champions Hemispheric Extravaganza will be interesting. Be very, very interesting. Rich, as a Carlton supporter, Collingwood winning makes you very upset. Understandable. And yes, Nick, the explanation for the error was mind-boggling. And that was why I wanted to go through it step by step this morning, because of all of the chaos that was attached to it. And I'm glad that Bart could drop in. Literally, with all hell breaking loose yesterday, and especially after what happened with Nottingham Forest and Brentford, I asked Bart, I said, can you come in 2 days early to talk about everything so we could advance the conversation? And thankfully, Bart was able to do that. So it was very, very cool. Michael predicted when VAR came into play that it was imperfect. I remain in belief that the system should be scrapped. So then, Michael, let me ask you this. Are you when you would watch baseball, is it just let the umpires make the call and let the call be the call? I know that I'd like to sit here and just talk about Eric Gregg all day for the 37 out of strike zone strike calls he made in the clinching game with Levon Hernandez going up against the Atlanta Braves. But so my question for you, Michael, would be, do you just want umpires to do it? No review. Do you want officials to do it on the field? No review. Do you want the call to be correct? Even have the opportunity for review to fix a call that was wrong, even if it is even if it was against your team. So that would be my question, Michael. How would you structure it? Just so I know where you're coming from here. No review, nothing whatsoever. Let the game be the game. That's it. So let me know. One, because balls and strikes are not reviewed. Yeah, so let the game be the game. Whatever the call is what the call is. If it's wrong, it's wrong, because we're going to yell anyway. If we have review and it's reviewed wrong, it's still wrong. If we don't have review and it's not reviewed, it's still wrong. Right. But we have seen the calls are still not 100% correct. Right. And that's the human error element of it. And I think that's where you're coming from. Yeah. Because if you are looking at it from the human error component, human error, therefore, is still going to exist. I feel like Descartes all of a sudden, thinking philosophically here. But so I just want to know where you're coming from when it comes to not having any kind of video review or any kind of review whatsoever. Just let the call on the field be the call on the field and let it stand, and thinking that over time it will even out for you and against you. I think that's where you're coming from. So I understand that. Okay. Let's see. Yep. Errors happen. It's a fact. Just go back to no VAR. At least the games were not delayed pre-VAR. Right. And the other thing in all of this is that I would also put a time code on it. Humans are not perfect. Let us celebrate goals. But then if you don't have anything to celebrate because it was taken away from you because of a human, you don't get to celebrate. But But what I would also do is I'd put a time clock on it. I would also put a review clock up. It's like, okay, if you don't have it within 90 seconds, then you don't get to look at it. Because we've seen this in Major League Soccer, where if you're there for a while, you're looking for something. And then usually, traditionally, what that means is that you're going to find what you're looking for, and it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy that you're going to sit there and go, okay, that's what I was looking for, and then you're going to call the call because the monitor is your friend in this case, and it backs you up. It's your buddy. That's what I thought happened. I saw that. My monitor buddy's backing me up. That's what you're staring at. So, four card, hoodwinked. Make it make sense. Yes, failure to communicate and transparency. Parzival mentioned, kept seeing stories about Messi going to Newell's after the 2025 season. And if I remember correctly, the contract that he was to sign with the Moss brothers was basically a 2.5-year deal. Same for Busquets, same for Alba. Everybody's lined up for 2.5 years. So after the 25 season's over, the Messi and friends, they can go off into the sunset, be ambassadors for the World Cup in 26. Games being played wherever they're being played. MLS can have them as ambassadors. They can tour the planet and do whatever and have whatever the deal is after the fact. But I've always been under the impression this season, at least one more with an option for a 2.5 to get it through 25, and then 26 they can be ambassadors or do whatever they wish. Don't even start Michael on clear and obvious. Absolutely. But yeah, I have seen those stories too, and it makes sense that he would go home. But there is a story in The Athletic, and I think this was a while back though, where crime issues in his native Argentina that are attached to that club. I'll see if I can find it, but it was a great story in The Athletic about where things are in his old neighborhood, in his old city, where the crime I'm not going to say crime families, but those who are those who are of unsavory means. Basically, they started to rob stores and cause violence to stores that had ties to the Messi family, and the messages that were left were waiting for you. That might be the only thing that would cause him not to, but we'll see. But my impression was, yes, Messi, we are waiting for you. Thank you, Rich. Yes. So I wasn't too far off. But yeah, so you're looking at do you? That's the question. So we'll see what happens there. It was a great article in The Athletic. So if I can find it, I'll put it in the timeline. Let's see, Hutch, Wolves gave Manchester City a nice challenge on Saturday. And it was wild. I did not anticipate it. I mean, getting into the numbers, by the way, your juice boxes, and thanks for everybody who was listening to Prem and Proper. Your juice boxes in this one, Wolves were a plus 732 in the composite, the biggest dog on the weekend to win. Plus 732. Manchester City went to the Molineux at a minus 256. Wolves go on to win 2-1 at a plus 732. Villa put 6 on Brighton. I did not have that. I did not have Ollie Watkins on my bingo card getting a hat trick. Wish I had, because I had Evan Ferguson, Julian Alvarez, and I always captain Erling Haaland. Villa put 6 on Brighton. Did not have that on the bingo card. 6-1 final. Watkins had a hat trick at a plus 150. West Ham beat Sheffield United, and I think it's probably just because of the lack of funds to do it, but there is a reason that Paul Heckingbottom is still their manager and that Chris Wilder's not in yet. They probably don't have the funds to do it. We'll talk about Scunthorpe before we go. Newcastle beat Burnley 2-0 at a minus 256. Not a surprise there. Crystal Palace beat Manchester United 1-0 at a plus 503. Anderson with the goal. They hung on. Great win for Crystal Palace on the road. Luton Town. I know Tom and Ropes, you've basically been screaming into the void since about noon Eastern time on Saturday. Luton gets the 2-1 win at Everton at a plus 475. Everton was a minus 154 favorite going in. Luton Town gets their first ever Premier League win at a plus 475. Big win for Luton Town. Arsenal beat Bournemouth 4-0. Now Tyler Adams looks like he's re-aggravated an injury, so they'll keep an eye on him and his recovery at Bournemouth. Arsenal won at a minus 185. We mentioned what's going on with Spurs and Liverpool all morning long. Spurs at home were a plus 200. And then Nottingham and Brentford, big result, shared result for them. We talked about the issues that they had with refereeing at a plus 220. So shared result for Nottingham and Brentford. So that puts your standings in the Prem since we're here. Manchester City, 1 point clear. And it's crazy right now. 3 points separating 1 through 6. Manchester City at 18 points. Spurs and Arsenal at 17. Liverpool's at 16, having won 4 in a row. Villa's at 15, ahead of Brighton on goal difference. Gets you to 7. West Ham's at 13 points. Newcastle's at 12. Crystal Palace with the wins at 11. They've hit each column once in their last 3. Manchester United, 9 points. They're in 10th. Nottingham Forest, by the way, 1 win away from matching a total that it took them to get to November to get last year. I think it was Thanksgiving when they got their 3rd win. They've got 2 wins already in their first 7 matches. Fulham behind them in goal difference. Brentford right now, having drawn their last 2, they just are not. They don't have a dedicated score. I know they're trying to look along the lines of having Mbumo do it. They scored 10, but it's in 7 matches. I mean, they have scored the most of anybody in the lower half of the table, but they've also given up 10. Brentford has only won once in their first 7 matches. Just haven't been able to get over the hump like we talked about Thomas Frank in the first hour of the show. Wolves with the win. Big win. Big win for them. They're at 7 points. Chelsea's at 5. They're in 15th, by the way. Everton, with their 1 win on the year, they're at 4 points ahead of Luton on goal difference. Bournemouth, Burnley, Sheffield United right now in the relegation zone. Not a surprise Sheffield United is there. I had them going down. I had Luton going down, and then it was going to be a battle with the 4 teams. And I think it legitimately is the 4 teams of the 6 teams that are at the bottom of that table. Wolves, I think, will be a part of the discussion. Everton will be a part of the discussion. Bournemouth, I think Burnley will have the talent. I think Bournemouth and Burnley, will have the talent. They have more talent than Sheffield United, than Luton Town. So it's that third team is where I'm looking at stuff. Prem and Proper will be back out on Friday. Drew Dickinson and his diatribe, otherwise known as the 3D, will be back. We'll be back on the week. So that's where things stand in the Premier League. City is in Liverpool's fans' heads. That is without question. Without question. Yep. Gross negligence. Let's see. I know Rich. The U.S. Soccer Federation should allow the MLS, NWSL teams to change the names then. I think that, and I think that if you're in it for marketing, I think that that's probably what you end up doing. You won't necessarily be, X team tied to MLS. You'll have your own identity because all it is it's more gear. It's more marketing. It's a different marketing arm. It's a different way. It's a different revenue stream. So I don't know if you would have, because Bay FC is not tied to anybody. Boston's not tied to anybody. It's not tied to Robert Kraft. They have their own identity. They have their own revenue streams. Let them do their thing. Looking forward to that. And, it is sad. And that was what, Michael, we talked about it on a little bit on Friday. But like I said, that'll be the coda for today is to talk about it. I wasn't wearing my Scunthorpe jacket for 2 shows in a row. We got to talk about it with a little bit with Jess. When Jess came on, Jessica Charman came on in the 10 o'clock hour on Friday to discuss what's going on with Reading. Reading's fans threw tennis balls on the field in the 16th minute at the Burton Albion match. And it was pretty crappy. So, yeah, it's a really bad situation. Wow. Okay, and Rich doing a public service this morning, letting us see that Jimmy Butler's hair is reminiscent of Prince, maybe in his later years. It's that is a hairstyle that Jimmy Butler has chosen. That is definitely a hairstyle that Jimmy Butler has chosen, and Rich doing the work of us all and putting that in the Twitch pitch. Now on Major League Soccer on the weekend, getting into those results. See if I can find it. There it is. It's like you're trying to find something, you click on it, and I have like 38 different tabs that are open. 38 different tabs that are open this morning. All right, so here's your results from this past weekend. Last night, and I know that Bam was either watching and or listening to it, a goal by Chicho Arango at a plus 462. 1-0 win for LAFC. Like I said, Steve Cherundolo, he's talking about a lot of things other than what might be in the mirror. He needs to look in the mirror a little more. Saturday, very, very busy day. Cincinnati took them a while at a minus 161, but they beat Toronto 3-2. Brandon Vasquez, poacher. Orlando City beat CF Montreal at a minus 167, 3-0. The Fire beat the Red Bulls at a plus 470, 1-0. Revs, Charlotte. Charlotte had come back to tie the game, only to give up that tie a minute later. I think that pretty much just sums up everything from Charlotte. Revs won at a minus 119. Messi and friends tied NYC at a plus 250 at 1. Same score Columbus and Philadelphia. Remember, Philadelphia will not have Kai Wagner for the match in the midweek as Mike and Jason and Atlanta United head up to Chester to take on the Philadelphia Union. That was at a plus 347. All caps. Took Sporting to the woodshed at a plus 106, put 4 on the board. Did not have that one on the bingo card. Nashville and Seattle, a goalless draw. We'll talk to Nico about this one on Thursday, get his thoughts on it heading into the weekend. Loons and Quakes tied at ones at a plus 313. Houston and Dallas. Houston coming off of their Open Cup win. Figured be about right. Quick turn, get in, get out. Hopefully no one gets injured at a plus 252. Rapids beat Austin. And Rich being neighborly, we'll post that in a second. Rapids and Austin. Rapids beat Austin 1-0 at a plus 114. Vancouver and D.C. was its standard amount of crazy. 2-2 draw at BC Place at a plus 319. You wanted standard crazy. Galaxy and Portland. 6 goals on the board, 3 for each side. Shared result of a plus 286. 7 draws in Major League Soccer this weekend. 7. 2 underdogs north of plus 450 got results. But 7 draws in Major League Soccer. All of them on Saturday. So that sets up your standings. I don't know about that second one, Rich. Western Conference. St. Louis, 10 points clear, 2 matches to go. All caps in the West. We're working from West back to East. St. Louis at 56 points. They've clinched the number 1 seed with 2 matches to go, 2 of their own. RSL is your number 2 seed right now. 3 matches to go, 46 points, and they have 1 more win than Seattle. RSL, since they got Chicho Arango, they have been studs. Seattle's in 3rd, once again, 1 win behind RSL. LAFC is now 4th at 45 points. Houston, same number of wins, but they're in 5th at 44. Vancouver, same number of wins as Portland. Zombie Timbers, by the way. Zombie Timbers are now 7th. Vancouver 6, Portland 7. Same number of wins. Vancouver's well ahead on goal difference. Portland's got 2 matches to go, though, so they've got to really take advantage of those 2 games that they have left. San Jose's at 42, Dallas at 41. That's right now your West. Kansas City could not afford that loss. Could not afford that loss. They're 2-8-6 on the road. 38 points. 1 more win ahead of Minnesota. Austin at 35 points, 1 win ahead of L.A. Colorado at 26 points got their 5th win of the year. Austin, 6 points out of a playoff spot. 3 matches to go. You want a hot seat? I'll give you a hot seat. But right now, 3 points separate 2 from 7. 4 points separate 2 from 8. 5 points separate 2 from 9. 5 points. Most of the teams, 2 from 9, have 3 matches to go. Portland and San Jose have 2. Once again, they got to take advantage of their situation because they have 1 less match to play with. In the East, Cincinnati, they got the appetizer plate. 65 points. They get the big pie plate. Congratulations to them. 19 wins this season. 13-1 and 1 from home, at home. Orlando, New England, Philly, Columbus, Atlanta, Nashville in. To Jason Nix's point earlier, St. Louis is the only team that's clinched in the Western Conference. No one else has clinched. No one. We mentioned how stupid crazy it is. No one in the West outside of St. Louis has clinched a playoff spot. The East, however, completely different. 1 through 7, they've all clinched. Just don't know the where. Orlando's 2 at 54. New England, 11-0-4 at home this year. They're at 52 points. Philadelphia's at 51. And once again, Rich doing a public service. Anyone coming to Philly, all are welcome to the Sons of Ben tailgate. And